Welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast. Today, we welcome John Didham, a former professional jockey whose remarkable career left a lasting mark on the racing world. Over the years, John rode in thousands of races, amassing more than 1,700 wins and millions of dollars in prize money. His career highlight came in 1989 with a Group 1 victory aboard Clay Hero, a performance that cemented his reputation as one of the most talented riders of his era. John also found great success internationally, including stints in Macau and across Asia, where he became known for his precision, patience, and sportsmanship. Since retiring from the saddle, he's continued to make an impact through mentoring, investing, and supporting the next generation of jockeys. John's story is one of dedication, discipline, and an enduring passion for the sport of racing. Enjoy the podcast.
John Didham, welcome to Kofkin Everyday Heroes podcast. Lovely to have you here, my old school friend from St Bernard's.
From the old days. No worries. Thanks, Tony. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we were just talking off air before about some of the crazy Christian brother teachers that we had. They were pretty wicked with the meter ruler or the strap at times.
No, that's right. That's right. Especially the junior school that we had down at Mooney Ponds. Year 7 and year 8. There's not many fond memories there.
There's plenty of skin lost on the knees of falling over in the handball court.
We just had all the concrete jungle for about 200 kids to play in. But once we got up to the senior school in year 9, that was actually my favourite year. We had Phil Brown.
Phil was a great teacher.
Phil Brown is a great teacher.
He ended up spending like 40 years at St Bernard's.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He had that great big mop of hair that went back.
He was the football coaches, the swimming coaches, the science teacher.
Yeah, everything. Meatloaf. He sort of looked like, and we sort of affectionately called him. From
memories too, he loved a dart, didn't he?
So I think he used to work.
Miss English used to love a dart at lunchtime.
Yeah. I think he used to work part-time as a bookmaker's clerk.
Is that right?
Yeah, at the races. So every now and again, if you gave him a tip and it went well, your grades went up a little bit. So I think it helped with that. But if they got beat, then probably the grades went down. But he was a terrific teacher. I really enjoyed Essendon at St Bernard's. We had the big ovals there, and you could run every. It was completely different.
That was fantastic.
But I just got. I didn't even finish that full year. Because I was actually my birthday's November the 7th, and then so I went as far as that, and then as soon as you turn 15, you're allowed to leave school
straight off to the racetrack.
So on November 8, I was straight to be an apprentice jockey. And but the week previous to that, they said, look, we'll give you the final exams. You've done enough work, and we'll sort of get you through. So I said okay, and they said on one condition. You can't tell any of the classmates, about what's on the test. I said, yeah, no worries. So anyway, I sat the exams.
There's a few of the boys that got their best results ever.
I think that class, Phil Brown's class in year 9, should have record scores because they got all the information the week later or whatever. So I got a dodgy year 9 sort of pass, and then
a few of us got into year 10 as a result.
Yeah, that's right. But that's how that was my schooling.
Now you are a very famous jockey, not just amongst all the St Bernard's boys, but you also come from a real racing pedigree of a family as well. So I remember when you were playing football together. You're my rover. You being a jockey and me not. So it kind of made a bit of sense. But it was quite a handy forward pocket as well. You always could just snag the odd goal here and there.
Yeah, it was great. Playing football.
You're also a very good cross country runner from memory.
Yeah. I was always sort of pretty good at most sports. And playing football, I loved playing football and under 13, under 14s. I did well. I used to rove all day and carry on and whatever and break up the possessions, but. About under 15s, I think, and then next thing you're lining up, and I'm very small, obviously, and you're looking at what about this boy here? He's got hair on his chest and hair under his arm. What's happened here? And then as soon as I got the ball, I was getting smashed. So I thought, this is not going to be any good. I'll go and do something easier and ride horses.
Race horses instead.
But
Can we talk about some of the family pedigree there? Your father, Midge Didham. So it's I always knew him as John Didham, but it was but you said it's Ernest John Didham, and you're John Ernest Didham. But he's got a Melbourne Cup win and 2 Caulfield Cup wins.
Yeah, that's right. He was a terrific jockey, and he ran second on a couple of premierships to Roy Higgins.
Yeah.
Back in that era through the 70s.
Roy Higgins, Harry White, your
Harry
father.
White, Pat Hyland, Johnny Letts, JJ Miller. There was a really strong class of jockeys through that sort of 70s, 80s period. And my father is New Zealand, comes from New Zealand. I was actually born in New Zealand, but I came over here when I was 3 years old. So I've sort of grown up in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But my grandfather, Arthur, he was sort of the start of everything as far as horse racing goes. So he was a jockey, but he was quite tall, similar build to my brother Paul, who's skinny but quite tall.
Yeah.
And he rode for a fair amount of time. He actually rode in the Melbourne Cup in 1945.
Okay.
And then he became a horse trainer, a very good horse trainer in New Zealand, in the South Island in Dunedin. And my father, he won the premiership in 1969-70 being champion jockey in New Zealand. And in 1970, he came over with a horse called Baghdad Note, and he won the Melbourne Cup in 1970. And then went back to New Zealand, then came over with a horse called Igloo in 1971, who was trained by my grandfather.
Yeah.
And he actually ran second in the Caulfield Cup. He ran second in the Cox Plate, and he ran second in the Melbourne Cup. So he had my father he finished in all the placings in the Cup as you go along. And in 1979, he finished third on a horse called Red Nose.
Yep.
He ran fourth on Golden Sam, who was actually trained by his brother.
Okay.
Mick Didham in 1973.
Okay.
I hope I get all these correct.
Yeah. I told you we're not editing.
Yeah. And then he ran fifth on Belmira Lad for Bart Cummings in, I think it was 1980. So he finished in all the placings in the Melbourne Cup.
But I do remember your father was actually still racing when we were in secondary school together.
Yeah.
So he would have still had to be watching his weight. Melting away into saunas up at Ascot Vale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They used to, in and out the sauna was the hardest part. The hardest part is keeping the weight off.
Yeah.
And even myself, like I'm 72 kilos now.
Yeah.
I could lose 5 or 6 kilos, but the next 10 is going to hurt.
Yeah.
So when I was 20,
I was going to say, what was your weight when you were racing?
Yeah, when I was 20, 21, I started to have a few, weight troubles. I was sort of 52, 53 kilos, but the weight scale was sort of 50.
Like a small woman.
To 50. Yeah. and then they put me on 3 different diets through that period to try and stabilize the weight or try and keep it off. And I actually got heavier on all of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So in the end, I said, look, okay, hang on, because you're starving and think things were mentally sort of playing on your mind with the weight. So I said, just leave it with me. So in the morning, you'd have maybe a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, something like that.
Yeah.
Not much breakfast. Lunch, maybe at the races, have a small bit of sandwich or something. And then, but at dinner, then you'd sit down and have one decent meal for the day. So at least you went to bed happy, content, and then the weight seemed to stabilize a fair bit. But you're always running and keeping the weight off. You couldn't get in the gym and pump iron because then the muscle would
muscle weighs more than fat. So not that you're carrying any fat.
It'd be more. You put a tracksuit on, then a plastic tracksuit on, then another tracksuit on, and then go for a run for an hour or 4 or 5 Ks, and then come in and you'd be exhausted and sweat would be sort of pouring out from the plastic. And then you'd peel it off, and you're so hot and sweaty, you just lay on the tiles in the bathroom tiles, just lay on the floor and try and recover.
I do remember the jockeys down at Ascot Vale Leisure Centre, always during the spring carnival when it was swimming down there in the morning. You'd go into sauna and there's Jim Cassidy with a garbage bag on him. And I was sitting in the sauna just absolutely sweating away with all the old blokes with their form guides out.
No, that's right.
And all getting tips.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you'd always be out and roughly for myself, if I went in there for half an hour into the sort of steam room or hot room, you'd lose half a kilo
Yep.
in that time, and then back out and have a rest for 10 minutes, then back in for half an hour if you had more weight to lose. And you do that, if you had to lose 1.5 kilos, well, then you'd be in 3 times. It'd take you an hour and a half with a couple of 10-minute breaks to get that weight off.
Yeah.
And then the worst part is then that might be 9 o'clock in the morning, but your light ride might not be until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you have nothing, not even a sip of water.
Yeah.
Till you've had your light ride. So.
How do you actually do that? Because I mean, it's first of all, being a jockey is actually physically demanding.
Yeah.
You're coming in 52 kilos.
Yeah.
So I mean, my race weight when I was doing triathlons professionally was 72 kilos, and that's what you are now.
Yeah.
And I was virtually anorexic.
Yeah.
And I was still being told I was too heavy.
Yeah.
And it's just like the only way I could lose
right.
weight is to cut off an arm.
Yeah.
So I was still apparently too heavy, coming at 72 kilos and 6% body fat. Now you're 52 kilos.
Yeah.
You're in a physically demanding role. You're trying to control an animal, which is huge at the same time. And, if you haven't eaten and things like that, well, are you going to be as sharp mentally as what you can be? Or are you just hangry?
Yeah.
Just get that race over and have
I
a
think
feed.
most of them end up, pretty hangry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the jockeys, in the jockey's room, they're because of the wasting and all of that, and you're so dehydrated that it's just the adrenaline that sort of keeps you going till the end of the meeting, and then you're straight into water, sports drinks, or the old days it was probably a beer or a Scotch and Coke or something, that'd make matters even worse.
Yeah.
So it's just how you survived, and here we're sort of racing every day, or 5 days a week or something. So it'd be a constant. Next day, wake up, go to track work, go to the sauna, get the weight off, ride, get home, refuel, rehydrate. But then obviously now you're 1 kilo or 2 heavier. So then the next morning, again, the same thing, track work, then the sauna to get it off, and then race day. So
it's interesting you say that, because if you have a look at the fighters, a fighter's weigh-in is the day before the fight.
Yeah.
So they will absolutely starve themselves to hit that number at weigh-in.
Yeah.
And then they'll go and eat 9 pizzas.
Yeah.
Because they don't
right.
weigh you before you get in the ring. They weigh you the day before. So at least they have that full day of just being able to eat and eat and eat and eat before you actually get into the ring.
No,
and sometimes their fights aren't starting until like 9 or 10 at night anyway.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So they basically could have, nearly probably around about 36 hours of actually just getting...
Probably put on 5 kilos.
Correct,
or something like
putting
that.
the food straight back into them and that. But you guys, as you said, you had to starve yourself, couldn't even have a sip of water.
Yeah, no, that's right. And then you sort of stabilise every day while you were doing it. It was in some ways a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Whereas in Macau or Hong Kong, you're racing twice a week.
Yeah.
But you might race, Tuesday night, then not race till the Sunday. So then Wednesday and Thursday you might be out and then eating, and you put on 4 or 5 kilos, and then all of a sudden, oh geez, I've got some serious work to do. So then you got to rip off, 4 or 5 kilos in 2 days to sort of get ready. So you start this yo-yo effect of, up and down fluctuation.
Yeah.
So, but to stabilise sort of the weight and everything as you're sort of getting older, was a lot of water. Water would just keep sort of flushing the system through, and a lot of fruit and vegetables, not much sort of red meat or anything. But it's just hard to stay on that. Right through. But for 20 years, I was sort of on a diet or on to keep the weight as steady as you could, around 50 to 55 kilos.
Yeah, insane. Just a question without notice, and maybe it's a bit of a controversial question, but then, having worked at the Laurel Hotel and seen some of the characters down there, I can probably see why they don't. But when we were growing up, young girls our age always loved horses.
Yeah.
They always loved horses and dreamt of ponies or whatever the case. So you had girls loved horses. Now, females, can naturally just be coming in at 52 kilos.
Yeah.
How come there aren't more women actually as jockeys.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
you guys are starving yourselves and killing yourselves to
yeah,
actually get the race weight and to be there.
yeah,
But so whereas physically you could have, say, Lauren out the back, I think is in her early 50s as in respect to weight and things like that.
yeah,
But how come then there aren't more women, say, being attracted to this sport
yeah.
or being jockeys?
It's evolving.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
As
we've had a Melbourne Cup,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yep,
Michelle Payne
Payne, yep, yep,
and all that. She's terrific.
yeah.
And we've had sort of that, but it's going through a process now where I think the last 3 or 4 apprentice intakes, I think they've only had 1 or 2 boys.
Okay.
And what's happened is the boys who are 15, 16 who start, by the time they're 18, 19, they're sort of 6 foot tall
Gone through a growth spurt.
yeah,
That
and
happened to
then
Paul, didn't it? Your brother?
yeah, and then weight's a big issue,
Yeah.
and then it becomes too tough. So now the boys they're having a lot of difficulty now
Mm.
of getting boys that are small enough
Yeah.
and that can maintain that weight scale. Even when I started, I think would have been in the 80s. The minimum weight was about 47
Yeah.
kilos. So the weight scale's
I
gone
think I
up
weighed that at
in
about
yeah,
9.
the
Yeah.
weight scale in the last, say, 30 years,
Yeah.
every 5 years, the minimum weight's gone up a kilo.
Okay.
So, but people who've got heavier at a quicker rate. And it's a problem worldwide. If you go into, even in America now, the jockeys room, there's no sort of Americans in there. They're all South Americans, whether they're from, Brazil, Panama, or
Yeah.
they're sort of the third world countries are still small, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so all the jockeys' room is now filled with Venezuelans,
Yeah.
Mexicans, South American sort of thing.
A lot of them actually raised on horses as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And in Australia, there's a big problem with the boys, and a lot of girls are now coming into it and having great success. And the jockeys room now, when I sort of started, there was only a handful. It might have been 95% boys,
Yeah.
males to females, and then now it's in Adelaide, it's probably nearly flipped the other way. It's
That's
probably
right.
might be 60-40 females to males.
Yeah.
Sydney and Melbourne would still have, it might be 70-30. Not quite sure of the maths, but it'd be roughly that sort of percentages.
Yeah.
But it's and as the years are going on, of course, the older jockeys are retiring. But even now, with the intakes the last 3 years, let's say there's on average 10. If there's only one boy and there's 9 girls, well, you imagine in 10 years' time there'll be the jockeys' room will somersault where there'll be more females than male riders going forward.
Yeah. Now, for those of you who don't know, you've got a very impressive record. Because a lot of your really the highest end of your career was spent overseas,
Yeah.
but you've got 1,700 wins under your belt, or over 1,700 wins under your belt. 12 years on and off, but around about 9 years in total in Macau, or as
Yeah.
well. 3 times Premiership jockey in Macau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
right.
it's very, very impressive record. But it's can we talk about the experience of being a young jockey in Australia and then
Yeah.
heading off to Asia to race?
Yeah.
Where a Wednesday night at Happy Valley, as you were telling me before, is basically the same amount of gambling going on as Melbourne Cup Day.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
It's insane.
it's hard to get your sort of head around the numbers that happen in Hong Kong. But when I left school and then I was apprentice straight away, when I was 15 and 1 day old. So then about 12 months later, I started race riding. I was apprenticed at Flemington to Tommy Hughes, and then. I started race riding, and of course, when you start, you're not very good at it. You're learning, and my father was still riding at that time, so we rode together a little bit, and it was frustrating for him because I'm making mistakes, and he's oh, this child's going to kill himself out there or whatever, So he's trying to sort me out and
Just being a father.
going right.
Yeah.
And then it would have been in about January. Would have been 85, about a year later, that I actually went on loan to my grandfather in New Zealand. So I went on loan over there for 3 months and actually rode my first winner in March in 85 on a horse called Do Approve at Cromwell in New Zealand. So I had my first win over there.
How'd it feel?
And it was a relief because I think it was about my 38th ride
Okay.
by then, and you're sort of thinking, my God, I'm never going to win a race. They're going to have to put a special race on for me. So, and they might have, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Can't let
anyway,
down that name. You can't let down the Didham name.
Yeah. So, I was, and then I rode 8 winners while I was there for that sort of 3-month period. And I was lucky enough to ride a winner for my grandfather in that time, which was nice because he was sort of getting old at that stage. And then I came back and started, getting better, improving your skills. And I linked up with old Jim Surkey, who trained Dandy Andy, and he had a big team at Coleraine. So even though I was based in Melbourne, I'd go down to Coleraine and ride a lot for him. And I was claiming 3 kilos in the country. And then
claiming 3 kilos, me.
Yeah, well, as an apprentice, you get a 3 kilo claim. So if the horse has got 60 kilos, for an example, you take 3 kilos off that. So you ride it at 57. It's an incentive to put an apprentice on. So you get weight relief, but you also get inexperience. So it can work, but then again, sometimes it doesn't work quite so well. And then as you rode 20 winners, then your claim went to 2 kilos, then 1.5 kilos, then to 0 once you've ridden 60 winners.
How long is the apprenticeship?
Used to be till you were 21.
Okay.
No matter what, but now it's a 4-year apprenticeship.
Yep.
So whenever they start at varying sort of ages. And if you were very successful and outrode your metropolitan claim, you can apply to finish your apprenticeship earlier.
Means a pay rise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So things have changed a little bit, but I was apprentice and to Tommy Hughes till I was 18, and then actually my father retired from being a jockey and become a trainer, and then I transferred from Tommy Hughes to my father, and then it was a lot easier to. I was like an apprentice jockey then, as in I didn't have to do so much stable work and work around the stables. I could go and ride work for other trainers, Bart Cummings or Colin Hayes at the time, as well as writing work for my father. So it all helped, and then you started to ride a lot of winners in the metropolitan area, and then your career just keeps improving from there.
What was actually, I'll go back one question. You spoke about skill as you go through. You've all obviously got some talent and skill to actually be on the horse and how to get that apprenticeship in the first place. How much of it is skill and how much of it is the horse as well? Because I mean, we've had some champion horses, but it's is it a case of they're a champion horse being ridden by a champion jockey, which is why they're always in the right position? The jockey knows that horse, knows what it does, and things like that as well. Is there that a bit of a connection between a horse and rider?
It's a little bit of a mix where it's the horse. Obviously, the horse has got to be good enough.
Yeah.
And then the jockey really is. It's all about say getting along with that horse, knowing that horse, what that horse needs to win. Like some horses like
and
to
the
race.
Horse being comfortable with
with
the jockey as
There's
well.
sort of a connection. You get connection with the horse, and some horses like to lead all the way and race in front. Other horses like to be out the back. Some horses don't like to be.
Wasn't it?
Amongst them,
Sub-Zero came from
they're all
last place to win the cup.
They're all different. And Kiwi, I think he was back way last, and then he stormed and won. So there's a mixture of and as a jockey, you sort of got to get along with the horse. So it's more about how the horse likes to race more than how the jockey wants to ride it, sort of thing. But you'll do a lot of preparation, like pre-race. You'll sort of work out, let's say you're on a horse that likes to lead, but there's 3 or 4 leaders in the race. So you might come out and talk to the trainer and go, look, there's 3 or 4 horses that like to lead, and if we end up in a fight for the lead, then it sets up for the back markers to run us over, because we're all going to kill each other in front, and then we'll have nothing left for the last, say, 300 metres of the race. So and then the trainer will say, well, most of the trainers will sort of go, oh, well, all right, if you want to be fifth or sixth, and then attack them late, well, then you do what you think's best. And vice versa, if you're on a back marker, but there's no speed in the race, and they're just going to go slow up front and sprint home, well, then you're giving them a start. You're not going to be able to pick them up. So then you talk to the trainer and say, look, there's not much speed in this race. If we're back last or second last, we're going to be in trouble to try and catch them. So maybe, we'll have to try and be a bit closer or on the corner, not far off them, to be able to, hopefully get over the top of them in the last 200. So there's a lot of preparation and a lot of work pre-race, but it's 90% the horse, but you have got jockeys who are better than others and do more work than others, and that also blends into it.
Yeah. So I know you've raced in obviously Macau, Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, obviously New Zealand and Australia as well.
Yeah.
How do the tracks differ? And as a jockey, did you have a preference, say, for the rainy Melbourne Cup over a hard surface, which I'm assuming Dubai would be? So did you have your preference?
Yeah. Well, I love Flemington. Flemington's probably the favourite track, but it's also it's flat. There's no hills in it.
Yeah.
You've got a big sweeping corner, and you can lead all the way at Flemington, and you can also come from last. I think it's the fairest track. It's a big straight. It's big and wide. Nearly all the time, you get a chance to win at Flemington, whereas Moonee Valley, it's a little, say, square, and it's sharp, it's tight, and you've only got about 180 metres straight, so you can be in behind them and be unlucky where you don't sort of get out or get an opportunity to win. So it's a bit trickier. Caulfield, you've got the hill at the 1400 around the back, so and it's also different, and sometimes it can be a real leader-dominated track, especially if the rail's in the true position. Then you got Sandown. You got a big hill. You got a big run in, but it's all uphill. So things change. The last 100 metres can really dramatically change because the leaders are getting tired because it's all uphill from the 400 metres home. So they're just our metropolitan tracks.
Yeah.
But then when you get overseas, of course, and to say that as well, we race left-handed. Whereas in Randwick or in New South Wales, they race right-handed, and the same in Hong Kong, Macau, it's right-handed. Plus, they got the all-weather tracks, so they race on the sand or what they call all-weather or a mix of stuff. So it's different again. Where in Macau, we had a few American jockeys come over, and they dominated on the all-weather track because that's what they race on a lot in America. But they would jump out and really, go flat out from the start, on the all-weather track.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, you couldn't. It was really hard to pick them up. You couldn't really make ground on the all-weather. It was a lot harder. So
you had to change your
you had to change
riding style.
You had to change your riding style. In Australia, we sort of jump out the barriers, get a position, then we rest, and then we work home the last 400. That's rough.
It's a bit
roughly
tactics involved.
what we do. Yeah. Whereas
Not just get out the barriers and go for it.
in America, it's flat out the whole way, and then
like a greyhound
the
race.
last 400 is the slowest part of the race.
Yeah.
So it's all different, and the horses, the sand, the kickback, and all that, they don't like it because it comes back like hail.
Yeah.
So there's all that comes into it, but on the turf you can make up ground. I sort of found that you can make up, say, 2 lengths on the turf, whereas on the same horses, roughly speaking, on the all-weather or on the dirt track, you make up a length. So you had to be that little bit closer, or you had to be a bit more forward in your race riding, or a bit more aggressive earlier on in the race than what you would be on the turf. So it took a bit of getting used to, but we got somewhere in the end.
Did you have any preference over the longer races or the sprints, or it didn't really bother you?
Not really. If you had a great sprinter, it was fantastic. And if you had a great stayer, they're similar. But I probably like the longer races better because there's more tactics sort of involved, and you thought that you could probably get a bit of an edge here and there with if you had a horse who could race on the speed or just behind them, and if you're doing a lot of preparation, a lot of work, you could work out a strategy where you could potentially win a race where the horse is, probably not the best horse in the race, but you could strategize it and wait or go forward because there's no speed so it's more tactical. The longer the race, the more tactics sort of involved, really. Whereas if you're on the best sprinter, jump, you'll probably be in the first, 3 or 4, and then it's just a matter of, give him a cuddle mid-race and then get some room or find somewhere to go, and then, ask it for an effort, and away it goes. So it's easier if you've got a champion sprinter.
My memory of going to the races of Hong Kong or Happy Valley were the races were all sprints.
Yeah. Most of the horses are from Australia, but most of their racing, I would say, from 1,000 metres to 1,600 metres.
Yeah.
That's most of their races. So they buy horses sort of accordingly.
Yep.
They don't have your real, or a lot of, 2,400 metre races or a lot of long distance races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's now in Ireland though, they have a lot of the longer distance races, don't they?
Yeah, in Europe,
Yeah.
that they have, but their whole breeding.
Is that why a lot of the
setup.
I was going to say, is that why a lot of the Irish horses always seem to come over for Spring Carnival?
Yeah, that's right.
The longer races,
So, but it's got to really do with their breeding setup. Like they breed their horses for, to win the English Derby and to race over 2,400 or further, 3,200, whatever it is. So, but their whole breeding is sort of set up that way. So their stayers are better than our stayers.
Yep.
And then, but our sprinters, because our breeding is more for 2-year-olds, sprinters. They're, very strong, thick set and sprinting types. So our sprinters go and, clean their sprinters up, or go to Hong Kong or go to Ascot and clean them up. But their stayers come here for the Melbourne Cup and Caulfield Cup and clean our stayers up. So that's how it's been operating. And a lot of Australian owners now will go over and buy the European stayers to come back here and, win the Melbourne Cup. I think Lloyd Williams has been doing it for, be 30 years.
A guy I know from the sauna, actually, Big Vin from Haysa. He's 3 Melbourne Cup wins, all been with Lloyd Williams.
Yeah.
So it's he owns part of that horse.
Yeah.
Went off to Ascot one year with it as well.
He's bought a lot of horses, and he's been huge in racing. I don't think there's been anyone bigger, really.
Yeah.
But he'll go over and buy half a dozen or 10 horses, and for a lot of money, they might be $1 million each, or something like that. And then, but all he wants to do is win a Melbourne Cup or the Group 1 races, and I think he's won 7, might be 6 or 7. I think he's won 7. So he loves horse racing, and he's had that strategy of going and buying the European stayers and then come back here and hopefully win another Melbourne Cup. And he's done it for a long time.
He does it well. Tell me about your first win in Macau.
First win in Macau.
How did it feel? Even your first race. Let's start with your first race and then go to your first win.
It was
unless they were both the same.
It was actually strange after to get to Macau. I'd actually been to Singapore in 93 and 95 for the leading trainer there, a guy called Johnny Cock at the time. Anyway, I was going to go and ride for him on a yearly basis, and he got a positive drug test to elephant juice. So he was suspended for about 3 years or disqualified. So, so that all fell apart. But he actually said, "Oh, look, go to Macau." So I got a call. It was just after Warrnambool in 96, Warrnambool Carnival, to go to Macau. And I was like, I was hesitant to go, and I wasn't actually going to go. And then I thought, oh, well, we've got June, July, August coming up. It's winter time here in Melbourne. There's not much on. Worst case scenario, I'll go there for a month or two. It's 35 degrees. It's so I'll get some sun, some warmth, see what happens, and then go from there. And he organised with a guy called Joe Lau, who was the best trainer there actually, but he'd only just started. It's only his second year of training. Anyway, so he picked me up from Hong Kong airport, and it was the old airport, Chaplacock Airport, where we flew through the buildings and then hard left. So it was interesting getting there. You're flying through the
landing in
buildings
Hong Kong and landing in Queenstown have always been avoid the mountains,
what's going
avoid the
on
buildings.
here? I can see someone's television. What's going on? Anyway, we got through. It was all okay. And then I'm just walking out. There's thousands of people everywhere. And then Joe sort of noticed me because I had a saddlebag. Come with me. And then, but he took me back to Macau and looked after me for 3 months. It was the end of the season in 96. And anyway, rode there for 3 months. And Joe's team was sort of had enough by then, that there wasn't much there. So I only had a few winners in that period. Might have been 7 or 8. I can't remember exactly. But I thought, this could be all right. So at the end of that, they asked me if I wanted to ride for the next year. And I said, I'd like to, have a yearly license. So then, and that continued on for sort of six seasons after that. And I was lucky enough, you just, okay, I was 25 or 26. It was like, all right, I'm here. I'll go as hard as I can for as long as I can. Track work starts at 5. Some of the other jockeys get there 5:30, 6, and thought, well, I'll get there at 4:45, and I'll go as hard as I can for as long as I can, and at least then, whatever happens, I've given it the best chance that I could to be successful.
And you've been noticed as well.
For
that work ethic.
And then so went there, and basically the track's open from 5 till 8. So you just stay there in that time. It's only 3 hours and go through. But others would come and go, and or not turn up at all. It was just the way some people would be casual. But anyway, I was just beginning, so I started there, and I actually was number 4 jockey for a guy called Peter Lation, who was George Moore's son-in-law. George Moore had just retired he'd been a legend, horse trainer and jockey in Hong Kong. Anyway, he was in Macau. Peter Lation took over his team of horses. So he had 60 horses, had the best horses. I was the number 4 jockey at the start of the season. And then the number 3 jockey went to Mauritius. I think that was Neil Payne. Then the number 2 jockey, after we go a couple of months, Grant Davidson, there was a race fall and he got hurt. So he was out, a couple of broken ribs and punctured lung and things like that. But he was out for nearly 6 months, so I ended up number 2. And then Gary Moore, who was riding at the time, he retired just over halfway sort of through that season. And then I ended up stable rider, So that's how it just started. And it was just through work and just the harder you work, the luckier you become, and that's how it started. And then I was lucky enough to win the premiership that year.
I was going to say, you won the premiership those several of the 9 years you were over there, didn't you?
Yeah. I was fortunate in that year.
Can you explain what the premiership is? To our listeners.
Let's say there was 30 jockeys there roughly, and it's just the number of wins in that year. So I was fortunate enough in that year to ride 75 winners in that season, and I rode the most winners of anyone in that season. So I was, champion jockey for that year. So it was a really good year because you sort of worked from the bottom, and you ended up, winning the championship from the American jockey Jose Corrales, who was a great bloke and a great jockey. He'd won the 3 previous years.
So who was this young buck Australian?
That's right. And I'd sort of been close, 1, 2, 3, 4 the whole year through. It was very close, but then once I become sort of stable rider and I was riding all of Peter Lation's horses, then I ended up 10, 15 in front or something like that, and then Jose closed to about 7 with 4 or 5 meetings to go. So it was a bit of am I going to hang on, or is Jose going to run me over, sort of thing. And but we sort of steadied, and then say there's 5 meetings to go or whatever. Then I rode 3. He might have rode 1. So then I got back out to 9, and then it was sort of become mathematically too hard for him to win. So I think I ended up winning by 9 or 10, something like that. Anyway. But it was a great relief, to actually do that, and a great achievement. And then, the following year, we actually improved and won with 87. Wins the following year.
So you're obviously now the stable jockey. So you're the lead jockey.
Yeah.
You're now always given the best horses to ride, I'm assuming.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it seems as though you've actually, that's what we spoke about earlier, having that skill of a jockey. You've got the good horses, but you've also got the skill now. You've had over 10 years of experience by this stage as well.
That's right.
And whereas the year before you won on 75, but if you're the leading jockey all the way through, you might have won, you might have had 90 for the year or something like that.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially, of course.
Potentially that could have happened. But it was really, I'd say, been riding for 10 years, learnt a lot. You just kept improving or trying to improve. And someone like Craig Williams, no one studies more films, no one does more work, homework, preparation, everything. And he's always communicating with his managers, owners, trainers. So no one works harder on racing. He's just 100% racing, which, I think you've got to try and have a bit of life balance as well. With that, sometimes you get too race focused, then there's nothing else. So I think you've got to have a bit of a mix, a bit of a mix. But I was, I've been 10 years learning. So, and once I got to Macau, you learnt more because you had like Jose Corrales, wonderful jockey, American jockey, but he had a completely different style. And then you talk to him about, why do you race like that? Why do you do? And he would explain why he did, and different. And you would take things in and try them, and some would work, some wouldn't work. Same with the Europeans that came over there. We had French, a couple of English, a couple of Irish, and then we have a few South Africans, and they're all got different styles and different ways of sort of how they've been taught. So then you think, you're Australian, we've got the best way and all that, but you learn a lot more from other jurisdictions and why they do the things that they do. Why do they look different? What's their theory behind it? So you actually learn a lot more whether you go to Hong Kong or Singapore or Macau. You learn a lot more from other jockeys from different jurisdictions, and so you just kept improving. That's the way I found it. Yeah.
With when you're over there, you're continually improving. But we were talking off air earlier. There was one where I think you were. It was the last race of the season. You were on 111 wins, were you? And the leader was on 112.
That's how it ended up.
And you ended up thinking you've got a real shot here with 3 races to go.
Yeah.
And a apprentice made a rookie mistake that nearly killed all of you, basically. So do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, no, that would have been in, I think it was in 2000. Anyway, we come into the last meeting. We raced the last weekend. So I come into the last meeting. I was about 3 behind, or the last weekend, 2 meetings. I was about 3 behind. And anyway, I had a good day the first day, and I ended up riding 3 winners. So we were level going into the actual last day. And then I rode a winner early, so I was 1 up. Early on, I thought, we're a chance. Then Robbie Burke, Irish jockey, he won races, say 4 and 5. We've got 12 races on, so now 1 behind. And then
anyway, you had a ride in every race?
Pretty much, would have had for sure. Yeah. And then about race 9, I think it was, I'm on the favourite, very good chance to win, and 1,500 metre race, but we're on a very heavy track. Anyway, we're going down the back. We're running down to the 800 metre corner, and I'm about 1 off the fence, ploughing along, running about 4th, 5th, just nice. Everything's going perfect. And then there was a horse that was about 5 off the fence, and a young apprentice is on it, and but it's going nowhere in the reins, and he's pushing it along, and the track was a bit dodgy where you probably shouldn't be doing that on the really heavy track. Anyway, then he drifted in front of me, and I was about to give him a call to say, where are you going? and
You might have swore off there, John.
you got was more like where the F, and you just got to the F, and he fell directly in front of me. And so he didn't actually get the words out. You got the first letter, and then next thing, bang, I'm on the ground, and then I've gone, oh, hello, hang on. There's 10 horses behind me. All I can hear is a running rail getting twisted and mangled, and then I'm on the ground, and the horse went. I was in front of the horse when we first landed, and then the horse slid over the top of me and basically stuck me in the mud, and sort of belted me around a little bit. And anyway, after what seemed like 5 minutes, it was probably 5 seconds, you sort of go, oh, okay, the field's gone, there's no horses left. Okay, I can move my arms, I can move my, okay, I can get up. All right, now I'm going to go and see this apprentice and have a good chat to him, you know. And then as I marched back about 20, 30 meters, but he was unconscious, and then it was like, oh, geez, hopefully he ends up all right, which he ended up okay. But then I had 2 rides left after that, but I was so sore, back sore, neck sore, everything sore, and I would have been as wide as the wall. Coming in, and the stewards were like, oh, I don't think you should ride anymore. I think call it a day. And I'm like, no, I'm 100%. I've got 2 rides to go. I'm still one behind in the championship, so I still think I've got a chance. So I want to keep going. But in the ambulance coming back, I'm a little bit concussed, but I'm trying to think, what's my phone number? I can't think of it. What's my address? I can't get it. So I'm thinking, geez, if they hit me with these questions, I'm in a power of trouble. But anyway, they, the doctor checked me out. I was physically sort of, okay. But anyway, then went and rode, and they couldn't win, or they didn't win. So that was the end of that. So I had to go home battered and bruised, and lost the premiership by 1 on 111, and to 112. So it was a bit of a bitter pill, but.
Which is a huge amount of races to win in his season.
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah. The year before, Paddy Payne had actually set the record on 106. So we both broke his record,
and you still came second.
And I still lost. So it's just one of those things. So I had to come home, cry in my beer for 3 weeks, and then regroup. What am I going to do? Okay, regroup, get going, and then get back. And won the next year on 98. But I was with a month to go, I was 15 or 20 wins ahead. So we sort of cruised to the line. So,
so you mentioned earlier that Melbourne Cup Day, there's like $300 billion what will bet on the races. But you're saying like in Happy Valley, that's every Wednesday night.
I think.
I just want to ask this one question. As a jockey, I'm assuming that if you've got a Melbourne Cup ride, you are as nervous as hell. Winning that Melbourne Cup, it's a big thing. It's here in Australia. But every week you're racing in races that there's just as much money. Maybe not the actual prestige that the Melbourne Cup has, or something like that. But you've got the huge amount of money, huge amount of betting.
That's right.
That's going on.
Hong Kong is massive. They do roughly 1.7 billion Hong Kong dollars in turnover for the meeting, pretty much every meeting, which roughly equated is about 300 million Australian dollars. So 300 million Australian is like Melbourne Cup Day, the turnover that we have, which is our biggest day. So they're doing that every meeting. So as far as that goes, Hong Kong's in a league of its own as far as the betting and everything goes. So I think Zach Burton, who is the leading rider there now, he just got through 1,900 winners in Hong Kong, so he'll probably get to 2,000 winners. But he's, as far as prize money won, he's just short at the moment, but he's going to break through 500 million Australian dollars, the prize money that is accumulated. So he'll be the first Australian to break through that prize money barrier. So it's massive money, and that's why a lot of Australian jockeys, or you try to get to those Hong Kong, or Japan's even bigger again, but it's so hard to get into. So you're trying to get over there to hopefully be successful and end up riding for those large sums of money.
How long does a jockey's career usually last for on average? Now, I know you've
Yeah.
had over 2 decades.
Yeah,
It's about
yeah,
25 years,
yeah,
was it? Yeah,
yeah,
riding.
yeah. Nearly 25 years. I retired when I was 40, but
Yeah,
average age is 32. But most of that is through weight. You just get too heavy, and a little bit like my brother who started when he was 15 as well. But he's another 6, 7, 8 inches taller than me.
yeah,
He's a bit different build. He's a bit skinnier.
yeah.
But weight. He rode for about 8 years, but then weight, got the better of him, and
Is he releasing them on Melbourne Cup Day again this year?
yeah. So now he's sort of part of the Melbourne Cup, whereas he's been the chief starter since 2002.
Yeah,
So Media Puzzle was his first Melbourne Cup that he started, and he's been the official Melbourne Cup starter since then. So he'll be starting the races
yeah.
since then. So he's. They used to have different starters at Moonee Valley and at Caulfield, but now he does the whole lot. So he does a Caulfield Cup, Cox Plate. He's the chief, starter here in Victoria. So he's been doing that since 2002.
Is that a
So
full-time job?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So he'll also do, he lives at Point Cook, but he'll also do, Bendigo, Ballarat, Geelong, Werribee,
Yep.
places that are sort of close as well. So it's full time.
The Asians in general are very, very well known for their love of gambling. If you're ever at the Crown Casino 5 a.m, they're still there on the tables or trying something. I was at a conference a couple of years ago up in Canberra where they have that one tiny little casino about the size of this office, and it was just full of Asians.
Yeah.
Putting down their takings from the restaurants. I was quite amazed how much they love to gamble. And I did go. Last races I went to was actually. It's earlier this year. So it was Chinese New Year down at Moonee Valley.
Yeah, right.
And once again, it was just, so it was huge.
Yeah.
I think it was a Friday night actually. So it's, but anyway, it was, so it was, they'll just gamble on anything. When you're over there, does that put pressure on you?
Yeah, it does. It does. And, especially a lot of the time, the owners, they don't quite understand, the horses will, perform poorly for really no reason. You're trying to scratch your head. You think the horse has worked well, and you think the horse can win,
Yep.
and the horse runs midfield. He runs 5 or 10 lengths below what you expected him to run, and then it mightn't be until a day or two later you find out he's got a sore leg, or he's got a temperature, or there's something not quite right with the horse. So it does happen, and because they're betting, and it's and when they bet, it's they're betting strong. Sometimes it can lead to did the jockey do the right thing, or did the jockey pull the horse up, or things like this. So you're always trying to work closely with the trainer and the owners that you're with, that we're all on the same page and we're all going in the same direction. And but things can go wrong. You're working with animals, and on the day that the horse can't say, "Look, I've got a sore back," or "I've got a headache today," or things like that. "I don't feel well," or so it and therefore their performance drops. But because they can't tell you, sometimes it can get a case of where trust breaks down.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though it shouldn't, but
Yeah.
it does. It can happen.
So, I mean, can jockeys then get accused of pulling up the horse when the trainer thought we're putting a big bet down today, we're going to bet strong on this, and and the winnings from the bet might even be a lot more than what the prize money is for actually winning the race.
It does happen, and then it can become quite complicated where the owner's obviously upset. You've told me the horse could win, and the horse has run midfield or something. And then the pressure goes on to the trainer, and also there's pressure there because then the owner could transfer that horse from that trainer and give it to another trainer.
Yeah.
So the trainer's also trying to.
There's a horse might just had a fever.
Yeah. Where the trainer's also worried he wants to keep the horse. So it's easy to handball and say, oh, the jockey done the wrong thing, or it's the jockey's fault, So there's a lot of that. The jockey can, cop the blame where the trainer's trying to protect himself and keep the horse. So blame the jockey, get another jockey to ride it, bad luck for the jockey sort of thing,
Yeah.
So that can happen, but I was lucky with Joe Lau. We had a good relationship, good owners, and they didn't always win, obviously, when you wanted them to, and things like that. They're horses. Sometimes they go poorly and whatever, but we had enough, trust and respect for each other, that we're all working together.
You did get up 1,700 times, so I'm assuming the owners would have been fairly happy with you over the period of those horses.
Most of the time,
Yeah.
they were happier more than
Any major repeat offenders there in the horses? Where you've just you've had one for 30 wins or something like that, where you've just stayed on one.
We had a couple of good, really good horses there. I think a horse called Gold World Winner, who sort of came in there in Class 4. I think I won 13 races on him, and he went up. He went to Dubai. We rode him in the Dubai World Cup sprint race there. He wasn't good enough, but it was great.
Some decent
to
winnings,
go there.
Some decent winnings in that race, isn't there?
Oh yeah. I think it's a $10 million race or something. I think we're on the all-weather track.
Would have been a nice payday for you if you
got it. Yeah. And then a horse called we're in the barriers, and the race starts, and my horse is usually very fast. He'd be right up there, second or third or fourth. That's the way he used to sort of race in Macau, or lead. Anyway, we jump out 1,200 meters straight run on the all-weather track, and we'd run third in the lead up a couple of weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this was a really hot race. We jump out the barriers, and I'm in the last 5 or 6, and then I'm sort of going, hey, just giving my horse a bit of a niggle to say, mate, we're off the speed a bit here.
Yeah,
Could we, keep in touch?
Yeah.
And then he's flat to the boards, like going, well, I'm at top speed, and
okay.
From what I remember, I think a horse called Caller won the race, but it just jumped out, led by 3 or 4 lengths, and just
kept going.
Well, I just kept going. He's an exceptional horse. I've never seen a
someone
horse
gave him the
do
electricals
it.
up on the backside as he left.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's an American horse.
Yeah.
But, and he raced on it, but he was phenomenal. Yeah. I don't know if any horse would have beaten him on that day in that race. He just went flat out the whole way and won by 4 lengths or 5 lengths from memory. And we were back. I think we ended up beating a couple home. We were really not in the race, but it was great. It was a great occasion. Great to be there. You're in the jockeys room with Frankie Dettori and Gary Stevens, and was great just to be there.
Yeah. So with tell me, have you had a favourite horse that you've loved racing more than any other horse? Riding.
Most say good horses, or and they've all got little characters and different things, and you get to know them, and you get to love them, sort of thing. Probably a horse called Best Brothers. He was a champion horse in Macau. I think he won 2 gold cups there, and he was the best horse there for about 2 years. He's actually trained here by Lee Friedman, a horse called Trips, and I think he ran second in the size produce here, and then went to Macau, and he started off in Class 3, and he just won 4 or 5 in a row, got to the top of Class 1, and won 2 gold cups. Won the Directors' Cup. He won everything in that period.
Yeah.
But he was a stallion sort of at the time, and when he first came into work, he'd play around and buck a little bit and whatever. So he was very playful, but a great natured horse.
Yeah.
And to ride over 1,200, he'd sort of get back to last or second last, but then he'd storm. He could win 1,200 fresh first up. And then over 1,400 to a mile is pretty much unbeatable.
Yeah.
But then you'd stretch out to 1,800 or 2,000, and he struggled at the trip. But if you cuddled him and looked after him and gave him every opportunity to to run out the trip, his class would get him sort of to the line. So he was a real interesting horse to be part of, and a horse that you really, even though he couldn't quite get the distance, he got it. If you could, cuddle him and save him and look after him.
I love the way you say that, cuddle him. Whilst you're actually riding him, going down, give him a cuddle.
Yeah. Well, you just put him to sleep and just let him say follow the leader and slipstream and get on the fence and save ground and wait to the last sort of 200 or 300 meters before you made a move.
Yeah.
And then he'd have power, or the last 200 he'd be quick enough to sprint over the top of them. Yeah. But if you were going to make a long sustained run from the 800 or something, then he wouldn't be able to do that over the longer distance. But he was a really really good horse to get to know. And Rock and Roll Kid, he was another good horse. He's actually owned by Norman Chang and Hans Ebert, who were, I think they were chairman and president of EMI Records, Polygram Records, Asia Pacific, and he was a great horse. He again, he won the Gold Cup and things, but he was a great big brute. He was a big 16.5 hands and strong, and he'd be right up on the speed, lead or in front, and he just grind them into the ground. He was that was his style. He was big, strong horse, but they were great to ride for. And when David Bowie or Elton John come and done a concert, well then you got tickets to go, and you'd be with them, and because they brought them to Hong Kong for an example, and then you'd be at the after party or whatever, and it was just fairy tale stuff.
Pretty decent life.
It was amazing. You go and see the Eagles or whatever, or shaking hands with David Bowie. He's only an inch or two taller than me.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because
he was thin, the thin white Duke. People actually thought he was quite tall. No,
it was just phenomenal. To meet up with these people. And
my mum actually has two coloured eyes like David Bowie.
Yeah, right.
We had two different coloured eyes.
Morris Gibb come over. We've got the photo up on the wall. I think I've sent through.
Yep.
So all of that was just a fantastic time, and the owners that you got to know, and the
John,
people
I'm going to cut you off there.
Who looked after you. Yeah.
Fantastic time, meeting all these celebrities, going to these amazing parties, but you weren't allowed to eat or drink.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's probably why you can remember all these after parties and that, because you actually.
That's right.
You actually weren't allowed to put on any weight. All that food looks great. Don't go near it.
That's right. Sorry, I can't have anything. And they'd say, they'd be pushing food onto your plate, sort of thing. Oh, here, have some fish.
That's
or,
a very
or have some
Asian or Arabic thing to do.
Here's some prawns. Here's a bit. So no, I've got a light ride tomorrow. I've got to lose 2 kilos, not put on. Oh, eat the fish. It weighs nothing. And you go, oh, it actually does weigh something. But they were all good, and even sometimes after wins there'd be crazy after parties and things of that nature. But it was always, you had a fallback position where we get randomly drug tested every sort of Tuesday night. They would pull 4 jockeys supposedly out of a hat, to go and do that. So be like, oh look, we get drug tested every Tuesday, so we can't, everybody can do whatever they want, but So we didn't get caught up in that culture.
Yeah, it is interesting how you do have a lot of, say, the younger NBA basketball stars now who are they're going off the rails even before, but they're getting such big contracts before they've even proven themselves.
Yeah.
I know, you've done very well for yourself. You've retired young. You've had a great career. But at the same time, you got paid because of your career and what you achieved during that career. You didn't get given a $40 million contract. Now go prove yourself.
No. I think, if you got, a 40, 50 million, sign on fee, or,
and you're 18 years old,
it'd be hard not to sort of, run off the ground or, start partying like there's no tomorrow.
Well, unless you're Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan.
Yeah. No, that's right. But they're so driven and,
completely different people.
That's right. Yeah. But it's very hard. When you're throwing that money around to 18, 20-year-olds, and then they've got their friends, and then it's all on, and then we're partying, and then, so it would never end, sort of thing.
That's right.
Exactly. So, it's hard to, I suppose, have the discipline to stay focused.
If you've had the discipline and prove yourself, then you get the money.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the best way of actually training a young person. But to give somebody something before they've actually proven themselves, I think is a bit.
That's right.
They've obviously got the talent to start with,
Yeah,
so they might have proved themselves in university or something like that. But
exactly.
yeah.
But there's
especially if you've just had to do 6 years as an apprentice, cleaning up the stables.
That's right.
It's
That's
like
right.
an apprentice chef, peeling potatoes and washing dishes.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. So it's all. We've had a lot of jockeys who had great potential, but then they didn't have the work ethic or discipline or the drive to maintain the rage.
Get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then I can't be bothered or what, and one thing leads to another, and they're not as successful as they could have been. But that'd be the same in every sport. There'd be footballers that
famous could have been champions.
Had great ability but just didn't have the drive or the want or the will to be the best that they could possibly be out of that ability. And every sport would have those stories, those people. So, and then it gives the guys who are I suppose not blessed with natural great ability, but if you're persistent and you're patient and you work and you get, then you have a chance of being more successful than someone who had more natural ability than you. So I think the will, the patience, the drive. It's like Craig Williams. He's done all that and become a superstar. Yeah.
As a result. Now, I'm going to Oaks Day this year. First time been to Spring Carnival races for about a decade, actually.
Right.
So just going down with some friends to the birdcage there. Obviously, it's big. We actually are pushing this podcast out tomorrow. Otherwise, I think there's about 8 already pre-recorded. So I figure we might as well put this out before. We do have Derby Day this Saturday, and then Melbourne Cup Tuesday, and of course Ladies' Day or Oaks Day on Thursday.
That's right.
So it's it's huge. The Spring Carnival's huge, absolutely huge here.
Flemington's
Melbourne.
Flemington's great, and like we've had Caulfield Cup lead up, and then the last Cox Plate,
and how the roses just come to bloom perfectly during Spring Carnival.
Perfect. They time it to that every year. They do a great job, and the Flemington 4 days is fantastic. It's one of, if you're a racing person, even worldwide, people come to Flemington for the 4 days. And obviously Derby Day is great day. Great days racing the first day. Then Cup Day the Tuesday. Oats Day's a great day. And then Champions Day the last day on the Saturday. So, but by the time that's finished, if you go to the 4 days,
it's big.
You're raced out.
I don't know how Paddy Saundry used to do it.
No,
he's got good stamina, Pat. When it comes to the horses, so
you're raced out. It wasn't so bad like when you're riding because you're working. But now you sort of go that you're not, and the days they get long. They get long in the end. But Flemington's great. The new stand and everything that they've done, it's really good setup and really good to sort of get around. And with the great horses there and the jockeys that are coming over, the overseas jockeys and everything, it's a really good week. So looking forward to it.
Do you have any tips that you can share with our listeners? Considering
we'll be having a crack at.
Who have you got for us?
We'll be having a crack at.
Let's write these down, Bella.
The pick 4 in the Cup and the trifecta in the Cup. So we'll be having. We always have a go sort of every year at it. Because especially the Melbourne Cup, there's so much money in the pool, and it always pays overs or it pays extremely well. But you've got to get the right horses in there. So we'll mess around, probably take 6 or 8 horses and box them up with different combinations and things of that nature. The pick 4s, obviously extremely tough, but I think last year it paid nearly $1 million. So, but 100 to 1 shot did win the race. And from memory, I think it was the first one I put a line through, Knight's Order. But so it doesn't. You can do a lot of form and homework, but you need a bit of luck as well, to get it. And as far as having a mystery bet or you like the colours of the jockey, you like the horse's name,
Yeah, my mum
things like
just
that.
that has an
It's-
Irish name. I'll take that.
Yeah,
Or
it's
Kevin Moses. He sounds like a good
Yeah.
Catholic boy. I said Moses was Jewish, Mum.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so it's
there's no real fixed way to do it,
Yeah.
but we'll roughly go along the lines of the European horses. I think they're better stayers than
Yep.
ours. And so we've got that Al Riffa.
Mhm.
He's the favourite. He hasn't raced here yet, but Mark Zara's going to ride him. He's won the last couple of Melbourne Cups.
Yep.
He's got his form from Europe's first class. So we'd probably banker him to run. If you're taking a trifecta in the first three,
Yeah.
or the pick four to run in the first four, and
Mhm.
then have 7 or 8 sort of around that. And because the field's not done until Saturday night, the
Yeah.
barrier draw comes out, and then Monday and Tuesday they're predicting some rain. So how much rain we get? So you'll be still tinkering
Favour
with
the
things.
Europeans a bit.
Yeah,
the rain,
I think it will. Yeah. So
By the way, I know the one thing I know about races is there's horses involved. That's about it. So I'm
Yeah.
learning a lot from you right now.
Yeah. So we'll be doing a lot of form from Saturday night onwards once the barrier draw's done and who's actually running in the race, because I think there's still about 40 now, but it'll be cut to 24. So they do that 5 o'clock on Saturday night after the Derby. So they'll have the barrier draw, then rain will come into it, which might help some horses and not help others. And then we've got Half Yours, the horse that won the Caulfield Cup, the horse of Tony McAvoy's.
Yep.
It's going to be really hard. And Tony McAvoy's a great guy. So it'd be great if it won. I'd love to see Mac win. He hasn't won one, so that'd be great. And then you've got Buckaroo, whose form's been really good, really solid. Ran second in the Cox Plate. He started favourite last year, but he drew 23, and they went back, and he ended up a mile back and couldn't win.
How far is the Cox Plate? 2,400?
2,050.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Maidan, James McDonald, who would be possibly the world's best rider at the moment.
Yeah.
He's looks like the 2 miles will really help that horse. He ran well in the Caulfield Cup. So we'll sort of be putting them into the mix and a few others, and we'll hope for the best, having a bit of fun. We're not looking to outlay thousands of dollars. We'll just go there with $50, $100. Just have a play.
Yeah.
And if we have a bit of luck, well and good.
Yeah.
And if you don't, we'll enjoy the day anyway.
Yeah. No, we did win the trifecta. Josh is 29, so it'd be about 28 years ago. So it's when they had the TAB, and this is the Cup day, and it was his mum, and went down, put on just a 3-horse normal trifecta, just a $1 trifecta, and it was like 7, 8, and 10. So 10 scratch. Oh, okay, number 11 came up.
Yeah, it came up. Yeah.
So it's $4,500.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was just like,
for $1.
it's just like,
exactly.
Yeah, it is. Didn't even know the names of the horses.
No, that's right.
Like
that's
that,
right.
So.
It's as good a theory as ever. You can do as much study as you want, but you need to have a bit of luck. And
I know. Apparently, we backed 3 horses. So that was basically it. So
exactly.
Yep. Now, John, thank you for coming today. I do have a couple of rapid fire questions for you, which actually don't have anything to do with horses, or they could have, because certainly things would have changed over your career as well. So, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Now that you don't have to wake up at 4:30 anymore.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. When I was a jockey, you'd be hit the alarm. Oh, it can't be 4 o'clock, surely. Oh no, please give me 10 more minutes. Now, actually, wake up. You're happy to wake up and go. Oh, the sun's shining. I'm not in darkness, so get up and get going.
Yep. Coffee or something else in the morning first thing?
Orange juice and then coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice mixture. Do you read much?
Yeah, fair bit. Yeah.
So tell me a book that you've read recently that people should read that you think was really good.
Very good book, Life Force.
Yeah,
Life Force
Tony
by
Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Very good book.
Very good book.
Yeah, so it's I like the chapter on peptides actually.
Yeah, no, very good book. I'm actually a huge Tony Robbins fan.
Yep.
And I've done all the seminars and everything.
Yeah.
But no, it was a really good book.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
I think Awaken the Giant Within was probably in the first 10 of those type of books that I actually read. And I still have it on my bookshelf at home.
Yeah.
I still
Well,
remember some of the stories, and it was just so well written.
it was amazing. I was walking around Hong Kong airport, wondering what to do, and just wasting time. Went into the bookstore and just stumbled across Awaken the Giant Within, and looked at it. And, all right, this could be all right. And then it was outstanding. And
Absolutely tiny print.
yeah. And this was
Yeah.
back in would have been 97 or 8, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
And then. Went through all these seminars, done everything, Date with Destinies and Mastery University. But changed my life. Yeah, fantastic. Loved it. Loved every minute of it.
So let's say you didn't make it as a jockey. What do you think you would have been doing?
Yeah, I've often wondered that myself. If I'd have got
I
too
mean,
heavy
you obviously
early,
didn't
or
have a plan B. You just said, this is it. This is what
no,
I'm doing.
no. I think it was driven a lot by my father, who wanted my brother and myself to at least be able to ride track work. So then I think he thought he'd become a trainer, and we'd sort of work for him, and away we'd go. So. And then 15 on the 15th birthday, basically didn't get through year 9, and then away we went. So I'd often wondered what I might do. Honestly, I've got no idea what would have happened.
Do you know the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger thing is, don't have a plan B.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and because you probably didn't have a plan B, you put in 110% towards plan A.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it worked.
So, who's one Australian or global creator, leader, or athlete that you admire right now?
Great athlete. In the racing world, it'd be James McDonald. I think he's done a phenomenal job as far as being a jockey. I think he's just better than anyone else. It's like anyone like Nick Dacos playing football. They just have time, that extra bit of time to decide they don't get caught with the ball. Fantastic to watch. I love sportsmen, like that.
Yeah.
It's even that Shubman Gill playing cricket, captain of India now. It's great to watch. The real best of the best.
Yep. You're a Collingwood football fan from memory, is that correct?
Still, yeah, still. Nick Dacos.
Yeah, one of the rare few non-Essendon supporters. Even though Ag still just keeps talking about Richmond, it's just like, seriously.
Yeah.
You've had a few good years over the last 40, and he's still hanging on to them.
That's right.
I'll ask this one. What's the most underrated skill in business or life?
Underrated skill in life. I think it's probably getting along with your partner or family members. I think that to have a happy wife, children, things like that, parents, just a family environment, brothers, sisters, the whole family. So I think that's probably underrated. And if that's all going well and going smoothly, I think that helps the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think longevity has shown that good, strong community, friendships, and family is one of the most vital ingredients of longevity. It's not just what you eat and exercising. It's actually having good people in your life as well.
For sure, yeah, I really think so. And that's
show me someone's 5 closest friends, and you show you the person who they are.
Yeah.
So if all your friends smoke and do drugs, you end up smoking and doing drugs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
exactly right. What's your guilty pleasure after a long week of work or high stress? What was your guilty pleasure back when you were racing? And what's your guilty pleasure now?
When you were racing, we'd go out to, there's a little island from Taipa where the racetrack was. We'd go out to Colawan, where had the beach out there, and have they had a beautiful Italian restaurant, and Fernando's is out there, a great Portuguese restaurant where you just sit down there, a couple of jugs of sangria, beautiful food, prawns in the clam sauce, beautiful. So you just really relax and it take your mind off the racing, the constant racing, and what's next week, what horses am I on, where are they at, what trainers am I riding for, what owners do I have to, so it just, you could relax and do it. And now it's pretty cruisy. Might just sit on the back balcony like tonight or this afternoon or whatever, and you might have glass of red or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Or we end up at the Emerald Hotel.
Yeah.
With a few of the other guys, David Taggart and Sammy Hyland, a few of the ex-jockeys, Craig Dim, we'd sort of get there and, you might have a good lunch, a steak or something, and there's always racing people.
You can now actually eat.
Yeah, now I can eat and enjoy it, and I'm not eating it thinking, geez, this is going to be painful to, get off.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll have a 10-gram steak, please.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's all I'm allowed to have.
Yeah.
If you could give your 21-year-old self one sentence of advice, what would it be?
Yeah. Probably, everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you're young, you're probably, what's going to happen, or am I going to succeed, or whatever. But I think, that'll be it. No, it's going everything will be all right.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend during the week, and she works very, very long hours. She's in Sydney. And I said, and she's trying to achieve a lot. She's young, and she's trying to achieve quite a lot, and she definitely will. There's no doubt that she will one day in the future. But I did say to her, I said, coming from somebody who's got decades of experience, is that we can basically, it's a case of what we believe we can achieve in a year is usually too much, but what we believe we can achieve in 5 is usually not enough.
Yeah.
But there's another thing too, and I think, reminiscing about you and talking about, all your success to date as well, is that a lot of people don't celebrate the wins, the successes. They achieve a goal and they don't actually celebrate and enjoy it. So, like, for example, the photos we've got of you, you're happy, you're enjoying that moment. You just won a race, and you're actually enjoying that moment. And I think a lot of people forget this is they're saying stop and smell the roses.
No, that's right. Yeah. And my father, when I was starting out, he had 2 bits of advice really, and that was as far as race riding goes. The pace of the race is the name of the game. So you've got to become an expert on pace, and like if they're going slow, you've got to be closer to them. Yeah. If they're going fast, well, then you can drop off them, and then so you've got to know, even down to 1/10 of a second, where you are, because 1 second in racing is equivalent to 6 lengths.
Yes.
So it's very technical from that point of view. So the pace of the race is the name of the game, and then the only other one was when you do have a win, enjoy it, because in racing, if you're an average sort of jockey, your winning strike rate is about 10%.
Yeah.
So, but that means you're losing 90% of the time. If you're really good, you're about 15%. And if you're exceptional, like say James McDonald, he'd be on roughly 20%. Still means 80% of the time you're losing.
Yeah.
So when you do have a win, enjoy it.
Yep.
And then obviously then get back to work, but you've got to enjoy it on the way through. Yeah. Otherwise, well, what's it all for?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think the older versions of us, John, could have reminded the 21-year-old versions of that. So it is interesting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We got sons of similar ages, and I remember my oldest son saying to me a few years ago, he said, "You know what, Dad? If I listened to the advice you actually gave me the first time, life probably would have been a bit easier." And I just looked at him, this puzzled look on my face, and said, "Did you actually think I was going to give you advice that would be detrimental?" But just like you probably were with your dad, like my son is with me, like I was with my dad, who was my best friend and greatest mentor. But it's, it's just like, I'm young and I know better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You can't put the old head on the young shoulders.
Exactly right. Exactly. Most valuable thing you've recently learned from a mistake?
Ooh. Tough one. A mistake. I try to avoid making mistakes. I can't really come up with anything, to be honest.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. Because I've been retired for about 10 years, so now I just take the kids around and take the dog around and go around with my wife and go out to dinner or whatever, and so everything's pretty cool and everything's pretty smooth at the moment. So hopefully there's no hiccups, The only thing I'm worried about now is on the 10th of November, I've got to go in and get a wisdom tooth out.
Oh, okay.
So that could be an issue.
Bit painful.
Yeah.
3 words people would use to describe you.
Interesting. Probably different people would describe you in different ways, especially from when you were working and not working. But I'd say very passionate, but also very compassionate. With the animals and people as well. And I think or I would hope that they would say just a good guy, fun, laughing, good to be around. That's what I would hope people would say.
When I hadn't seen you for 30 years, probably 32 years.
Yeah, that'd be right. Yeah.
And walked into that pub down in South Melbourne, and you and Troy Podarski are sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
I recognised Pasty straight away.
Yeah.
So his shaved head. So he's a big unit of a boy. So
Yeah.
And then you actually introduced yourself to me. I said, John Didham. Wow. It's been so long that now we've got our 40-year school reunion coming up next year.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was, the 3 of us sat down, we had a beer, and, I'm actually not a drinker, a real drinker. But in saying that, though, it was actually just really great seeing you again. So it's, but there'd been 3 decades had actually gone during that period. As well.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And
it was actually after that I decided to actually go back and start reconnecting with some Bernards again.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it was actually, that night was a fantastic night.
Oh, it was a great night. It was really good down at the Emerald Hotel.
Yeah, that's right.
The back room was fantastic, and everyone who got there, it was a really good occasion. Hopefully they go there again or something close to that would be outstanding. But yeah, Troy Podarski, I think he's in Japan at the moment.
Okay.
We keep in contact, with him.
Lovely guy.
A lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Terrific guy.
Yep. Okay, finish this sentence. Success is.
Success is work and pleasure.
Love it.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. John Didham. World famous jockey.
Infamous.
Thank you for coming in today.
No worries. Thanks, Tony.
We've definitely recorded all those tips, and I'm going to go down and put a bet on now for.
No worries. Yep. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks.
The Kofkin Bond podcast is a product from Kofkin Bond and Company, which we are an authorized representative of Count Financial. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional, finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of the Kofkin Bond podcast are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decision, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from the podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Kofkin Bond website, or you can find resources on the ASIC website and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Kofkin Bond & Co. and the hosts of the Kofkin Bond podcast acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.